Number 13 ranked UFC Bantamweight, Cody Stamann. How are things with you today, my friend?
Things are great, man. It's a beautiful day in Las Vegas.
And how is preparation going as we get closer to your next fight?
Really good. I mean, I've been preparing for this fight for 6 months now. I mean, I was ready. I was ready in March, and here we are. Almost May. I'm still ready. I'm still ready. I'm kind of at a point now where things are going to kind of get a little bit more relaxed. I probably won't do as many sessions this week as I did last week, and then the week after that, being 2 weeks out, I'll probably do even less. I'll probably do around 10, maybe 12 this week. I did like 15 last week, so yeah, I'm gonna start kind of tapering off. I mean, a lot of the hard work's already been done. I'm in good shape. My weight's good. Everything's the way it should be. It's about just maintaining now and doing my best not to get any silly injuries.
Yeah. And of course, we've got this fight booked, but you've had 3 fights cancelled since December. How difficult has that been, in all honesty?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, honestly, it's been awful. You do so much, there's so much preparation, so much time spent to get ready for a fight. I had 2 people flown out here for a week in March, and then to have the rug pulled out for me like the day of the fight, that's pretty tough. That's not something I've never dealt with. I've never waited and not fought. I've got like 20 amateur fights, 20 plus professional fights, so almost 50 fights, and it's the first time it's happened. So it's kind of it's a weird deal. You don't really know what to do afterwards. You get yourself in this mental place where you have to go fight and compete, and then it just doesn't happen, and you're kind of just confused. You don't really know what the hell to do. But I just did what I always do. I just jumped right back in the gym.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about just getting back to work. When something bad happens, that's kind of always been my mentality. You know what I mean? I get injured. As soon as I'm healthy, I'm back in the gym. It's something happens in my personal life, I just go back to the gym. It's kind of like my sanctuary, and that's just what I did this time. Fight gets canceled, it's like, oh well, there's always another guy that wants to kick your ass. So I just got back to the gym and just got back to work, and I'm happy. I'm happy and finally getting the opportunity to go out there and kick the shit out of somebody.
Well, let's talk about that fight. So May the 1st, you are going to fight number 12 ranked Merab Dvalishvili. First and foremost, talk to me about this upcoming fight in terms of a style matchup.
He's a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. The only difference is I can actually fight on my feet, and I don't think he can very well. I think he's pretty sloppy. I've seen Merab in the gym. I've seen him in the cage. And out of all the guys I fought in the UFC, because I fought a list of really, really hard-nosed killers, my resume, the guys in my resume compared to the guys in his resume are on different levels. You know what I mean? I fought, hardened veterans of the sport. The toughest guy I think he fought was John Dodson. And, that's a 40-year-old John Dodson who's a 25-pounder, So for me, I look at this fight as just a great opportunity to show how good I am. It's obviously you got to be worried about a guy that's going to shoot on you that many times, and it's that tenacious, has that kind of cardio, can push that kind of pace. But dude, I've had 6 months to get ready. You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time to get in shape.
Yeah.
And maybe if we would have fought in December, he still would have had that edge in the cardio. But I was in shape to fight him in December, and I just got in better shape for March. That doesn't happen. And I'm in better shape than I was then. So now, you know what I mean? Like, I took the biggest advantage he has in every fight is his ability to push the pedal, push the pace. He doesn't have that against me anymore. You know what I mean? He gave me way too much time to prepare. He would have been a lot better off fighting me in December. And now it's like, I'm looking at it like, dude, where's his advantage? Where does he beat me? You know what I mean? If I do what I know I'm capable of in the cage, I think we're going to see 2 different level athletes out there.
If we presume that, as you've kind of insinuated, one of Merab's big qualities is his cardio and is his pace, How much of an advantage do you think it is having nearly 6 months to prepare for him?
I mean, it's everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to get in shape to compete against a guy like that in 2 months. You know,
Yeah.
like when I got the fight in October, I was in okay shape, but I knew that I had to do some hellaciously hard workouts, you know, to prepare for a guy like him. And I did those workouts, and in doing those workouts, I actually like literally blew my own back out, you know, and had to pull out of that fight in December. I actually asked for 2 extra weeks, and they couldn't make it happen. You know, so now we're gonna fight in March. You know, I'm healthy again, and I'm doing it again. I'm pushing myself, you know, to my absolute breaking point. You know, week in and week out. And then, you know, Merab gets COVID, and I have another opponent, and I was like, I don't even give a shit who it is at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who he is. I don't care, you know, like what style, where he's ranked. I don't care who it is, you know. And Andre Ewell steps up, and then he gets COVID, and then another guy pops in, you know, on a week's notice, and I'm like, this poor bastard's got to fight me on a week's notice. Like, I can fight for 50 minutes straight if I have to. You know what I mean? There's no way this guy can keep up with me. And then he's got a heart condition; he can't fight. And so I go back to the gym, and I'm already, you know what I mean? I've never really started a fight camp where I'm already like in shape to fight. You know what I mean? I'm already in shape to fight. And then it just extends from there. And now I'm doing things that, you know, in the gym that I never even thought I was physically capable of. You know, I'm running 5-minute miles. You know what I mean? I'm running back-to-back 6-minute miles on incline. Like, I'm doing things that I've never even come close to doing ever in my athletic career, my entire life. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that stuff when I was wrestling in high school and college. Like, and I can do it now. You know what I mean? Like, I never knew that I had, you know, I could actually push myself to those levels. And, you know, like I said earlier, like, he would have been better off fighting me in December, because he would have had, you know, an advantage in the cardio round at that point. But now, I mean, he won't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm breaking guys every single round. Like, I'm going with guys, like high level guys in the UFC, and 3 minutes into 1 round, these guys are like, they're sucking wind, they're dead, you know. And then the next round, I just murder them. And it's like at the point now where, like, I need a fresh guy every single round, because I'm just melting everybody. And I think that's kind of how Merab fights. You know, that's how he wins. He just puts the gas pedal down, and eventually guys start you know, subduing. And, you know, the more tired you get, the worse your technique is. And then, you know, maybe he starts looking a little bit better on his feet. His wrestling looks a little bit better. But if Merab competes against a guy like me that's as skilled as me and can keep a pace with him, like, what the hell's he gonna do to me? You know what I mean? I'm at a point where I'm just like, I don't even give a shit what Merab's doing. I don't care if this guy's I don't care if he's wrestling lions. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at a point where it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm kicking his ass, like, no matter what happens.
Would it be fair to say, from a very casual perspective, because I read an article about the fight a couple of days ago, that if the fight stays on the feet, you've got the advantage, and if the fight goes to the ground, Merab perhaps has the advantage? Or do you feel like you can match him in the wrestling and grappling?
Oh, I'm gonna wrestle him. Yeah, I mean, it's not my game plan. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of guys try to fight Merab and just kind of stay on the outside, not really commit to anything, don't really want to get shot on. But I've never really had to do that against anybody. You know what I mean? Like, even when I fought his teammate Aljamain Sterling, I like went right down that guy's throat.
Yeah.
In the first round, like, I went after him. I wanted him to shoot on me. I didn't care. You know, unfortunately, you know, there were some things that happened, you know, prior to that fight that, you know, led me to, like, pretty much die, you know, in the second round. I just ran out of gas. Like, let's be honest. I had a pretty bad weight cut and, like, bad food poisoning. And I didn't have the gas tank. I tried to finish in the first round because I knew I had 5 minutes in the gas tank, and it didn't happen. And in the second round, I'm melted. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that against Merab. You know, I've had too much time to prepare. I've had too much UFC experience. You know, that was a long time ago. That's a different thing. So, I mean, I think it'd be silly for me not to wrestle with him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily think, you know, it's a different style of wrestling. American wrestling and the Russian style of wrestling is very different, but I've had those looks. Like, I know what to expect. I've been in the positions that Merab likes. I fought out of them. I'm not going to get tired. Like I'm 100%. Like I thought about actually betting him $1,000 a takedown. I thought about doing that, just to kind of, up the ante a little bit, like $1,000 every time I take you down, you owe me another grand. Every time you take me down, I'll give you another $1,000. Like I like that because honestly, I do believe that, I will be the guy that offensively wrestles first. And, I'm definitely going to be able to take the dude down.
Yeah. Now, when this fight got rebooked, I saw you posted the fight, and you mentioned something on the comment below about something about the Georgian fans. Is there a little bit of bad blood? Maybe not with Merab, but maybe with some of his fans of what they've said.
Yeah. I mean, these guys. Listen, it's not every single fight. You know what I mean? Like as soon as I got in the UFC, people were like, "You're gonna die. You're gonna this. You suck." You know what I mean? Like that's normal. Like I get that every single fight. I get that every day. You know what I mean? Like those are normal. And I love talking shit to those people. You know what I mean? I'm just like, how sad are you, dude? How bad does your life suck?
Yeah.
And I get that. It's part of being an athlete. It's part of being, it's part of doing what we do. It's part of like being out there and being exposed. Like people love to hate on you if you're doing well at something. That's just the reality of life. That's just how society works. I'm used to that, but man, these guys took it to another level. They were talking about my dead brother. They were talking about my mom. They were just saying nasty shit. Like it was so far, like it had nothing to do with the fight. It had nothing to do with me as a competitor. It had nothing to do with Merab as a competitor. It was just nasty, man. And, I wish nothing but terrible things for those people. And I told them that, I'm like, dude, like, and I really meant that. Like, dude, like if you guys realize what, you know what I mean? Like what that actually did, to me, like you want to talk about motivating me to want to hurt somebody. Like that's all you did. I mean, you didn't, you know what I mean? You didn't make me feel bad. You didn't do anything but really piss me off to really like want to hurt the guy that you're rooting for. So, I mean, I meant it when I said it, like his blood's on your hands because, if I didn't have the motivation before, I certainly did after I read those messages.
Yeah. I remember reading that message and it was obviously it's well known what happened with your brother last year, and obviously very sorry to hear that. And
Thanks.
You could obviously, reading your message, you could see perhaps what they'd said, and to a certain extent, did it give you a little bit of extra impetus in training that you want to, prove these people wrong, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's always a chip on my shoulder, but I mean, I'm kind of an old school guy like that. Like, you can say pretty much whatever you want about me.
Yeah,
I'm unaffected. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it really, you know what I mean? If we're at the bar and some guy calls me a midget and calls me names, like I'll laugh and like I don't take that shit personal. Like it doesn't bother me. But if you come after one of my friends, you come after a family member, like you took it to a place that it didn't need to go. And then, you know what I mean? And that's really when you see like the nasty part of me come out, and like this, it did just that, you know what I mean? It made me nasty. It made me want to hurt these guys. And like, I'm really having a hard time at this point, like in training, keeping that all in, you know what I mean? Like I've had a couple of blowouts in training just because I'm like so geared up, ready to fight that, I want to just like take someone's head and slam it through the wall. Like I'm just like a little caged animal right now. I kind of got to like push myself away from everyone at this point because like I'm so geared up, ready to fight that like the fucking crazy seeping out at the seams.
Have you? I wanted to ask you this because I know Merab has spent some time at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Have you trained with him at all, or seen him train perhaps?
Oh yeah. He was in like maybe 2 practices that I was in. And he showed up one day to spar while I was sparring, and we kind of just went to opposite sides of the gym and kind of ignored each other. And then afterwards he came up and, tried to talk to me, be friends with me. Listen, he's a nice guy. Like he's a nice guy. He's not a malicious person, and he's not the guy that's going to talk shit to you and run his mouth to you. Like he's just a kind of like straight up dude, competitor, like he'll smile and shake your hand. And then on the cage door locks, he's going to try to kill you. That's just who he is. Like I have no like personal quarrels with Merab. Do I like seeing the guy at the gym? Like absolutely not. Like I don't like seeing him, but it's been good because honestly, he's like trained with a bunch of guys that I train with. And it's like, I have a really good idea of like what the guy's game is like, you know, at this point, you know, and like I have more information than necessary. I really, really needed, you know, you know what I mean? Like it was like basically like he was training with all my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did he really think that he was going to train with guys that I train with on a daily basis? And then, you know what I mean? After like no one was going to say anything to me. Like, I mean, after everyone went and trained with him, they were like begging me to take the fight. They were like, dude, you have to fight this dude. You're going to kill this guy, you know? And that was really like one of the deciding factors to me signing this fight again, was the fact that he came in, trained with all the dudes that I trained with, and they were all like, Cody, you got to fight this guy. Like, this is a really good fight for you. And, you know, I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do it again.
Yeah. Now, this is obviously, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is number 12 versus number 13 in probably one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. Where does a win put you in the bantamweight division over a very highly touted, a very hyped prospect, if you like, in Merab?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it gives me the ability to fight somebody like Frankie Edgar or Jose Aldo. You know, to fight one of the big name guys. You know, I think a fight against another prospect. I mean, I've done this before. I fought guys. You know, I fought Song Yadong. I fought Alejandro Perez. I fought Tom Duquesnoy. I fought Brian Caraway. I fought all these dudes where like I'm a huge underdog and they're a huge prospect, and they're, you know what I mean, or they're like a staple in the division. You know, I've done this continuously throughout my career. I've fought these guys. You know what I mean. I've kind of been a gatekeeper at the bantamweight division. And like, all right, if you can beat Cody, you can move up, but if you can't, then you're out. You know what I mean? And like I've wrecked a lot of careers that way. You know, after these guys fight me, they kind of disappear. There's really nothing. Like they kind of don't exist anymore. I mean, I think Merab will be successful against other guys just because he is such a tenacious guy. He's such a good wrestler. But, you know, like if there was a fight that he probably shouldn't have picked at this point, it was me. You know what I mean? Like I'm the only other guy that can wrestle with him. You know what I mean? That I look through the division, you know, and like if besides outside of like maybe the top 5, you know, top 7 guys, like there's not a lot of guys that really compete with Merab's wrestling and his pace besides me, you know? So like, if I'm his team, like, I don't know why they didn't pick somebody else. Like, why not pick a striker that Merab could just take down and grind out? Like, why me? Yeah. You know, I can't really figure it out.
It hadn't actually come to my mind, but when you actually think about it, bantamweight, considering it's so stacked, a lot of the guys in the top 15 are predominantly strikers. It is a bit of a strange matchup, if you like. Normally the UFC like that striker versus grappler, but as you mentioned, you're probably one of the best wrestlers in the top 15.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I don't think the UFC necessarily likes guys that wrestle as much as maybe me or Merab does. I mean, him more than me. I mean, this guy is pretty desperate for a takedown the entire fight, to where I might get 2 or 3 a fight just to kind of break things up. And a lot of guys know, like, yes, I can take you down that whenever I feel like it. But it was at first, you know, the fight didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why would they want Merab and I to fight? But it's ultimately like, all right, out of these 2 guys, which guy's moving up? You know what I mean? Out of the two best wrestlers in the top 15, which guy moves up and gets the big fights? Like, yeah. And it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like UFC matchmakers know what they're doing. I don't question, you know, like why they do what they do. You know what I mean? Because these guys have been doing this longer than I've been fighting. So like they understand, you know what I mean? Like and there's a method behind the madness, you know, in all the matchups. You know, if you really step back, like every single one of them makes sense, you know, and you know, it's really on the athletes, you know, to make shit happen. You know, everybody thinks, you know, there are certain guys in the bantamweight like Sean O'Malley, or you know, a guy like Sean O'Malley, where he's got a ton of clout. You know what I mean? Sean O'Malley's going to get all the easiest fights. You know what I mean? They're going to try to find somebody who everyone knows, but Sean O'Malley can beat. You know what I mean? Sean O'Malley's not going to get a guy like me. Sean O'Malley's not going to get a guy like Merab. You know what I mean? He's going to get a guy that people know, but's on a losing streak, that's kind of on his way out. You know, like those are the kind of guys that Sean O'Malley's going to get. A guy like me that, you know, doesn't smoke weed and have fucking purple hair. You know, I got to fight the tough guys. You know, I got to fight the baddest dudes in the division. And that's just the reality of it. Like, because, you know, I'm not willing to fucking make myself look like an asshole, like a fucking clown, just so that I can get the easier fights. Like, because I know that I can win these fights. I know that I can beat guys like Merab. I can beat guys like Alejandro Perez. I can beat guys like Brian Kelleher. Like, I know that I can beat these guys. And I know that, moving forward, like when it's all said and done, you look at my resume of the guys I fought, like there's going to be it's going to be a stampede of absolute killers. At this point, I mean, even at this point in my career, I've fought Aljamain Sterling, I fought Brian Caraway. You know what I mean? Like, the list of dudes that I fought is insane. It might be, outside of like maybe the guys in the top 5 or 6, like it might be like the most stacked resume, in the bantamweight division. And it's going to just keep getting worse and worse and worse as, you know what I mean? I keep winning and I keep moving up the rankings. So, that's something I can be proud of. You know what I mean? Be like, hey, I didn't take the fucking highway to get to the top. I went straight uphill. I went off a cliff. I had to climb back up a fucking mountain to get somewhere. And, when I look back at my fighting career, I'm going to be like, yeah, dude, I literally had like one of the toughest roads to get to the top, but I did it.
It's your nickname, the Spartan. Spartan wouldn't
That's
have an easy road.
Dude. No, Spartans don't, right?
And
I chose a messed up nickname. I should have stayed with Mr. Wonderful and just been like Sean O'Malley and been a freaking weirdo.
Yeah. And assuming you get the win on the 1st of May, do you have any other goals in mind for the rest of the year? A particular opponent you have in mind, or a goal that you want to accomplish in 2021?
I want to fight Frankie Edgar. I've wanted to fight Frankie Edgar since I started MMA. You know what I mean? Like, it was like him and Uriah Faber were 2 guys I absolutely wanted to fight. I watched those guys. I idolized those guys. They're the kind of the guys that really got me into the sport because, they're kind of built like me. They have wrestling backgrounds. Those are like 2 guys. I don't think I'm ever going to get an opportunity to fight Faber. I've kind of put that dream to rest. But Frankie Edgar is a guy that I realistically could fight. You know what I mean? So if like you want to know the guy that I'm going to call out after I beat Merab, it's Frankie Edgar. And it's not going to be, you know what I mean? It's going to be out of respect because I do absolutely have the utmost respect for the dude as a competitor and as a person. But I want to compete against him. I want to compete against a guy, you know what I mean, that like is arguably one of the toughest, greatest martial arts of all time. Like, who wouldn't want to fight that guy? You know what I mean? If you're a real competitor, those are the kind of guys you want to fight.
When you started in MMA, I would have presumed Frankie would have been lightweight. And
Frankie was a lightweight. Faber was a featherweight. It was like Frankie Edgar. It was Jose Aldo. It was Uriah Faber. Like, those were the guys. Those are the guys everybody wanted to be. Maybe Dominic Cruz. You know what I mean? Those were the dudes that everybody wanted to be. And I think Frankie is still the most competitive out of those guys. I think Frankie can still bring it, you know what I mean? Based on his last fight against Sandhagen, obviously, took a big shot. But before that, when he fought Pedro Munoz, I mean, he looked like the old Frankie Edgar. I mean, the dude still got it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, let's, for one final question, turn the conversation back to the upcoming fight. Cody, give me a prediction for your fight on the 1st of May. What happens when you're locked in there with Merab Dvalishvili?
I'm going to Merab. I really think that I'm going to be able to take him down and beat him up a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if Merab got tired. You know what I mean? I think once I establish that I am the better wrestler, there's going to be just panic setting in. I don't think Merab's ever fought a guy that could really wrestle with him. And once he realizes that he's in there with somebody that can wrestle with him, he's going to be very out of his element on his feet. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be forced to fight on his feet, and then he's going to have to worry about the takedowns, and then his stand-up's going to get worse than it already is. And I could really see myself, hitting him with, a big counter shot or a knee on his way in. That's something I've envisioned for a long time, and I really think that it's definitely possible. I think against a guy like Merab, the dude's as tough as they come. You got to turn his lights off. You know what I mean? If that kid's still breathing, like, I think he's still going to be coming after me. It's like a dog with rabies. So I'm going to have to like literally shut his lights off, like unconscious, doesn't know what planet he's on. Because I think if there's a little bit of light left in his mind, I think he's still going to be coming after me. So yeah, I definitely think Merab's a prime opponent to get a finish in the UFC.
Well, it's a fantastic fight. It's always a fantastic fight when we've got 2 guys with numbers next to the name. and I very much look forward to seeing you back in action next month.
Awesome, man. Appreciate the time.
Before we finish, Cody, how can people find you on social media?
Everything's just Cody Stamann. Yeah, I'm a social media amateur. I'm not the social media queen that some of these other guys are, but I do give people a little bit of an inside look on what my life's like on my Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot. So if you want to see what my life looks like outside of the gym, Instagram's a good place to go.
And before we finish, anything you would like to say or sign off with at all?
I am deeply sorry to all the Georgian people. I didn't mean to offend anyone by, calling out all the Georgian people, but the Georgian people that said the things they said about my family, I really hope you're watching me first.
I'm sure they will be, and I'm sure they're in for a rude awakening. Cody,
I know they are.
Cody, thank you very much for your time today.
Yep. Thanks, man.